Welcome to Freedom with Adam Riojas. I have an incredible man who I believe is going to change the structure of California and be able to get rid of all of the madness, all of the fraud going on, and all of the people that are just getting put in prison and walking out like it was a free pass, like they're going to pick up candy. But his name is Michael Gates, running for Attorney General of California. Michael, can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, I am the law and order candidate and the one who is going to return California to a law and order state. So thank you for that. My name is Michael Gates. I've lived in California nearly my entire life, married almost 30 years, have 5 kids and 4 grandkids. I've been blessed by God to have just a terrific family, very, very fruitful family, incredibly rewarding, so many blessings. And then in addition to that, I've been an attorney almost my entire career. And I've been blessed with just a wonderful legal career as well. I have done more in the courtroom than most attorneys have in a lifetime, just in the years that I've already spent practicing law. I've tried many multi-million-dollar cases in court at trial. I've argued various appeals, both at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, also the State Court of Appeal. I'm even a member of the United States Supreme Court Bar. So if I needed to go back and make argument and appear before the U.S. Supreme Court back in Washington, D.C., I'm certified to do so. So just an incredible legal career. I was the city attorney of Huntington Beach for 10 years. I was in private practice before that. I was partnered at a law firm. As city attorney, I took on Sacramento on a number of battles, pushed back on unconstitutional mandates, unconstitutional overreach from Sacramento. Also made Huntington Beach, as the top prosecutor of Huntington Beach, made Huntington Beach one of the safest cities in the entire state of California. So we live in Huntington Beach. We live in one of the safest cities out of nearly 500 cities in the state. And if you compare that to our current Attorney General, Rob Bonta, what he has done with California, California is one of the most dangerous states in the entire country to live in. So, the contrast could not be more clear, more stark between Rob Bonta, the current Attorney General, and myself. I have a record of great results in protecting our community, reducing crime, keeping communities safe, families safe, but also taking on important battles. Like I said, the unconstitutional overreach coming out of Sacramento, AB 1955, which is a big concern for a lot of parents. That is the recent state law that mandates that teachers keep secrets from parents with regard to their children's gender trans issues. I fought that as the city attorney of Huntington Beach, and I won. Not only did we get an injunction against the state of California from enforcing that law, but the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal recently reaffirmed that decision and sided with the city of Huntington Beach in that case against the state of California, coming down on the side of parental rights. So I've engaged in a lot of amazing legal battles, had a lot of tremendous success. And I can tell you that it's good to be in this race. We can win this race. Obviously, it takes the support of the community. All of the folks listening here today and in the future to this program need to know that we can win California together, but I can't do it alone. I'm absolutely going to need the support of the community. People need to vote. They need to make it too big to rig. They need to go out en masse and make sure that we vote and get all of our friends and neighbors to vote. So if we run up the score in November with our votes, we can turn California around. We can rescue California and return it to a law and order state.
So I want to start with something you said about the parental rights law that you were part of from Huntington Beach and went all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and now we have a decision. How are we going to enforce that? Because there are schools that are still holding stuff back from parents. When you get in office, I was going to say if, but I believe that the people are behind you. When you get in office, how are we going to enforce that within the schools in California?
So it's probably easier than you might think. And what I mean by that is the Attorney General is the top law enforcement officer in the state of California, also the top legal advisor. The Attorney General is the one that is there to ensure that every state agency, including public schools, comply with all federal laws, including Title IX and other federal laws as well, but also complies with all state laws. And so what we have right now where, schools are basically thumbing their nose at the U.S. Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court decision in the Mirabelli case, like you said, that's a real problem. And it's really Rob Bonta's problem. It's the Attorney General's problem. As Attorney General, I can make sure that all state agencies, including all public schools, comply with Title IX and all U.S. Supreme Court rulings, because when the U.S. Supreme Court declares what the law is, that's the final say, that's the final word. And so as Attorney General, I will make sure that every state agency complies with all federal laws, all U.S. Supreme Court rulings, and all state laws. And I will have, not only the bully pulpit, but I will be able to write and issue Attorney General opinions to ensure that there is compliance from state agencies with federal laws, including U.S. Supreme Court decisions. But also, I have all 58 sheriff's departments and all 58 district attorneys' offices throughout the state of California to work with as well. So if there is noncompliance or there's a violation of law, I have the resources available to me to ensure that we get compliance.
Fantastic. I love it. So I know that in Riverside, you have the total support of the main sheriff who is running for governor. Do you have others that are behind you and have endorsed you?
Yes. So if you go to my website, gates4ag.com, that's Gates, the number 4ag.com, and that's my Attorney General candidacy website. If you go there and look at the endorsements page, you will see a long list of endorsements. I have the endorsement of Governor candidate Steve Hilton. I have the endorsement of, as you said, former governor candidate Sheriff Chad Bianco, and I appreciate his endorsement and his support. And I also have Rick Grinnell, who obviously, as you know, is a political heavyweight here in California and on the national stage. He is an ambassador for the Trump administration and does a lot of great work to try to restore California, actually to promote patriotism and restore California, but also the nation to a rule of law. So he's a great endorsement. And he actually when he endorsed me, he said, "I'm endorsing you, and you're the only statewide candidate I'm endorsing because I know you can win. You can beat Rob Bonta." He's like, "I'm not as confident about the other statewide races, but I'm very confident about yours." So my list of endorsements is very, very long. There's just a lot of great support coming in. So we can win California. I think what the audience should really know too and appreciate is 65% of respondents to polls say that California is headed in the wrong direction. That means independents, Democrats, and Republicans all agree that California is not in good hands, that we're in crisis, and that we need a change. And that's the environment that I'm running in. I am the change candidate. I'm the law and order candidate. We're lawless in California right now because of Rob Bonta. We're not enforcing the laws that are on the books. As I said, crime is high. We're the second most dangerous state in the country to live in because of Rob Bonta. No, not for any other reason, but because of Rob Bonta. The corruption, the waste, fraud, and abuse, nearly $425 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse. All of that happened on Rob Bonta's watch. He was put in office in 2021 by Newsom to look the other way, to turn a blind eye, to run cover for corruption, frankly. And so when I get into office, I'm going to attack all of this. We're going to make sure that we hold those responsible for the corruption accountable. We're going to put them in jail. And I'm going to use the criminal justice system to claw back that money, that taxpayer money. I'm going to sell them, I'm going to find the mansions. We're going to find the yachts, the small islands. We're going to liquidate all of those assets and return the money back to the taxpayers. So there's a lot of great work that can be done to return California to a law and order state and to hold people accountable. But our current Attorney General, Rob Bonta, just simply won't do it.
So here's my question. I know that Gavin Newsom, sorry, one or the other, put him in office on purpose to turn an eye.
Yeah,
he
did.
Can he be held accountable for this stuff that he's done to California?
So, the Attorney General, like any other prosecutor, has basically prosecutorial discretion or some immunity tied to his decision making. So we will see what happens when I get into office and I investigate all of these issues. I can tell you this, that whoever needs to be held accountable will be held accountable. But to your point, Newsom appointed Attorney General Rob Bonta in 2021. Rob Bonta would not have gotten elected as our Attorney General if he was subject to the will of the people. So Newsom put him there as a political operative, basically. Bonta is a career politician. So while I spent my career in courts trying cases and arguing appeals in various courts throughout the land, Rob Bonta literally was a career politician. Mm-hmm. He spent 10 years in the legislature as an assembly person before he was appointed as our AG. And ever since he's been appointed, he's been operating and functioning as a politician. This guy doesn't know the laws. He's never been in court trying multi-million-dollar cases, but he has been, at dinners, fancy dinners with lobbyists. And so he spent $500,000 in his own way to defend himself from a number of questions that were presented to him by the FBI. So he hired criminal defense attorneys to answer questions that were presented to him by the FBI. This guy's a bad guy. He's our top cop, top law enforcement officer, yet he's running from the law in his own right. So, California's got to make a change. We're mired in corruption, we're mired in dysfunction, we're mired in lawlessness, and it's because of Rob Bonta.
So recently, California did something horrible, and it looks like it's now at Gavin Newsom desk, and this guy, it's the Shirley Act. Tell me a little bit about how that could be reversed if this guy signs it. He's most likely going to sign it, and all he did was investigate the corruptors, and I don't understand it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the waste, fraud, and abuse that we know about, like I said, to the tune of nearly $425 billion, that's been going on for years. By the way, the state auditor came out with reports saying that our top state officials knew about the waste, fraud, and abuse for years and chose to do nothing about it. So Rob Bonta knew about it before Nick Shirley reported it. Rob Bonta knew about it and chose to do nothing about it. No investigations, no prosecutions. But regardless, the Stop Nick Shirley Act is designed to silence citizen reporters, to prevent investigations, to prevent, frankly, the asking of questions and then sharing of information. And so it looks like it's going to be signed into law. It just passed through the Senate. I think it was something along the lines of a supermajority is party line, right? So every Democrat senator voted in favor of the Stop Nick Shirley Act and every Republican senator voted against it. That tells you everything that you need to know, but it is unconstitutional. Just so you know, Pastor, I have litigated First Amendment for years. I have litigated the free speech aspect of First Amendment, and also I have been in federal courts as well litigating the free exercise of religion aspect of the First Amendment. I have been actually in court litigating the First Amendment, and then in addition to that, I spent 10 years as city attorney advising my city council and also the police department on free speech and what it means. So I know the First Amendment very, very well. I can tell you from my experience and my education and my knowledge of First Amendment that the Stop Nick Shirley Act is a violation of our First Amendment. What that means is on day one, Pastor, I am not going to enforce the Stop Nick Shirley Act. I'm going to refuse to enforce it because, as I said, the AG has prosecutorial discretion, and Rob Bonta has been using it, frankly, abusing his prosecutorial discretion against everyday Californians, against the interests of just the average resident here in California. I'm going to use my prosecutorial discretion to actually protect and defend the constitutional rights of everyday Californians. I'm not going to enforce the Stop Nick Shirley Act. I'm going to refuse to, and I can because of the supremacy clause that federal law preempts state law, that our U.S. constitutional rights preempt state laws. And so I can use my good knowledge and my good judgment and my discretion to not enforce a state law that is subordinate to federal law. I can refuse to enforce a law like that seeks to violate the constitutional rights of everyday Californians. So I'm not going to enforce it. So the Stop Nick Shirley Act will be dead on day one. When I take office, I will not enforce it. I'm going to be looking out for everyday Californians in spite of what the legislature passes.
I love it. Here's my next question. During COVID lockdowns, Huntington Beach did really well. You guys were one of the cities that did everything in its power to stay open and to reopen. As a matter of fact, even the beaches. How big of a part did you take in that when you were there?
So I was the top law enforcement officer in the city of Huntington Beach. And just so the audience knows, Huntington Beach is not some quiet, small, obscure beach town community. It's the 23rd largest city in the state of California out of nearly 500 cities. So it's in the top 4.5% by size. We have 200,000 residents and 15 million visitors a year. So everything in Huntington Beach is a big deal and it has a big impact. When COVID occurred and there were lockdowns and shutdowns, Huntington Beach wanted nothing to do with it. And so I took on Sacramento. I sued Sacramento when it locked down our beaches. And just so you know, Newsom was so upset that people in Huntington Beach were going to the beach during COVID, that we were going out and enjoying the sun and enjoying the beaches. He locked down our beaches with armed state troopers, concrete barricades, and bulldozers to push sand on the boardwalks. He literally came down with force to shut us down. I sued, and then a couple days later, he opened up the beaches again. So we were at the forefront of constantly pushing back. Huntington Beach is a no mask mandate. We have a ban on mask mandates in Huntington Beach. We have a ban on vaccine mandates in Huntington Beach. We literally refuse to put up with the unconstitutional mandates that are coming out of Sacramento. And so I led the charge on a lot of that, if not all of it. Huntington Beach is also a non-sanctuary city. We adopted a declaration that we're a non-sanctuary city. And that was my declaration. We also have voter ID law in Huntington Beach. I was the architect of that as well. So Huntington Beach is the land of the free and home of the brave in crazy California. But in large part, frankly, because we were not afraid to stand up and fight for the interest of everyday Californians and to stand up and fight for the Constitution and what it stands for. So, you got to fight to win. And you can't be afraid to go out in a fight. And even if it's a David and Goliath situation, you got to have the courage and the bravery to take on these fights and protect our way of life. It's some people I think might forget California is still in America, right? And there are still Americans in California. And so it's up to us as leaders of government to ensure that we protect and preserve the American way of life. And that means upholding and defending constitutional principles and protecting our freedoms. And so that's what we did in Huntington Beach. And that's where my interests were in Huntington Beach as the leader, as the top law enforcement officer, and the city attorney there. And that's what I plan to do when I go to Sacramento. I'm going to take the same attitude, the same approach, and protect the American way of life here in California.
We love it. I know right now that, the Hispanic population is one of the biggest population in California.
Yeah.
A lot of them are leaning towards having you as our next attorney general because everybody's tired of crime and it's rampant. And here's one of the things that I don't know if you're familiar with. A lot of these families actually have family members that are causing these problems. But here's what you always hear from Hispanic families. You belong in jail because you can change in jail. And so there's a lot of Hispanic families that'll call the police on their own family members to put them in jail because they believe that's the proper way to change these lives. Now, here's one of the main concerns right now is when they go to jail and they just sit around in prison and do nothing, because I know there was a time when they had a ton of vocations and were actually rehabilitating these criminals, because if you go to prison and sit around, all you're going to do is plan your next crime scene. So as the Attorney General, what can you do to assure when these family members call the police on their own family members that when they go to prison, they're going to be able to rehabilitate and come out responsible societal persons?
Right. Well, we absolutely need to support and enhance our rehabilitation programs. Criminal justice reform to that extent is necessary. What we want to do is hold people accountable who do wrong in our society, who commit crimes, and make sure that they can be reintegrated back into society as fruitful and productive members of society. But that means, we live in a civil society. That means that they have to be civil and not be committing crime. But what I want to say to the Latino community is, la comunidad latina es muy importante. It's very important, the Latino community, because approximately 40% of the vote latewide in California is Latino vote. So of all of the votes cast, the Latino vote is very, very big. And what I say to the Latino community all the time is, la comunidad latina puede rescatar California. The Latino community alone can rescue California. If, like you're saying, Pastor, people start to wake up and say, hey, wait a second. People in the Latino community start to wake up and say, hey, wait a second. What's happening right now, what's been happening is broken. It is not working. We need a different leadership. So if we can get, some nuevo liderazgo, if we can get some new leadership, nuevo fiscal general, then we can change things. We can return California to a law and order state. But we need the Latino community. But if they step up, they alone can rescue California. They can take credit for restoring California to a law and order state and getting rid of the lawlessness that we have heretofore. So I'm really doing a big outreach. I had a Latino town hall in the City of Commerce last night. We had over 100 people there, pretty much all Latinos, and I was speaking to them in Espanol, telling them, like, look, I need your help. You can rescue California. You can do it. So I'm hoping to empower them, to help them to know that, hey, look, my vote really does matter. And, if Michael's right and I vote for new leadership, maybe we can rescue California. So I'm putting it in the hands of the Latino community. I need their ayuda. I need their ayuda mucho. And so it's really up, and we, prayers too. We need to pray, Dios bendiga. We need his blessings. We need his guidance. We need him to help us rescue. So the Latino community is absolutely essential, and I'm counting on them to deliver in November.
I completely believe they will get behind you. There's just certain things that they want to be assured of. Now, I don't know if you know, Cesar Chavez was one of the great leaders of the Hispanic community, the Latinos. Yeah. And they actually, with the people, the Latinos that are legal residents and American citizens, were behind him because he was stopping illegal immigration from coming over.
Right.
I don't know if you're aware of this. They would go actually to the fields and scare these people away, the illegal aliens. Yeah. Now, and it's still like that. Nobody really likes them taking the jobs for $10, $15 an hour. Nobody still likes that. And I think that's what the assurance that they need to hear is that I want to help you. I want to make sure your businesses are well. I want to make sure that we can get rid of crime. I want to make sure you can walk out at nighttime in your own neighborhoods and feel safe. And once these guys are in prison, I'm sure from speaking to all, they want to make sure that, hey, you send them there not to put them in a cell and they never see light. Right. They want to see them rehabilitated. And in the same breath, of course, there's monsters that need to be kept in there. Yeah. So what's the assurance that you will work with them? And because I know it's a big, without that support, it's very difficult to get in office. And I know everybody is leaning towards you. We're tired of crime.
Yeah. Well, I tell the Latino community all the time. I said it last night. I'll say it again. Most Latinos are here in America to pursue the American dream. All they want to do is be here, and they want to work hard. They want to go to their churches. They want to send their kids to the schools. But in their comunidades, they want safety, right? They want seguras. They want their kids to be safe. They want their communities to be safe, and they want their mom and pops, the little bodegas, whatever it is, carnicerias. They want them to be safe and to thrive in the business districts. Right now, with all of the crime that's occurring, the businesses are not safe and they're shutting down. The families are not safe. The kids cannot walk to school. And so I say all the time too, cuando yo sea el fiscal general de California, tendremos vecindarios seguros y familias seguras. We're going to have safe families and safe communities when I'm the Attorney General, because I'm going to fight every day. I'm going to fight every day to ensure that our communities are safe and our people are safe. And then we get the violent criminals out of our neighborhoods and we get them into jail, like you said, get them out of our neighborhoods, because we need safety. So that's what I tell everybody all the time. And like, look, somos patriotas. Like, we're very patriotic. We love the United States. All of us, Latinos también. Like, we are all in this together, but we all have to work together and elect new leadership in California in order to have that, because right now we do not have that. We are far from it. And so, but we need the help and the support of the Latino community.
Absolutely. I'll close with this word. We've gone 1 minute over, but I want to play an advocate, and for lack of better words, a devil's advocate. Yeah. Why would I vote for you as a regular citizen that is tired of crime, that is tired of our system, is tired of Rob Bonta, is tired of all the fraud, tired of our taxes? We pay more taxes than anybody on gasoline. We're being ripped off at the stores. We pay more. I just traveled to America. You can go to another Walmart and everything's cheaper. You can go to right as soon as you get out of state, gas is cheaper. But we have thieves in high places now. It isn't like this.
Well, I will tell you,
lower level crime. We need to clean it up. So why would I vote for you? And then we'll end on that note.
Yeah, so I think that's a good question. And the answer is this. Look, a lot of candidates that run for office, they make a lot of promises. And actually, if you look at their record, you're not sure if they can keep those promises. I am a candidate who's running for Attorney General who is not just making promises, but I'm telling you what I can do. And I'm telling you this with confidence because I've already done it. So I was not afraid to fight crime in Huntington Beach. I was not afraid to make things right, uphold and defend the rule of law, and fight corruption in Huntington Beach. I mean, these are things that I already actually have a track record for. If you do research on me, if you go to my website, Gates for AG, and you see everything that I've done, I've already done it. So when I say I'm going to go to Sacramento and make these changes, I've already done it, and I'm going to make these changes. I can make every city in the state of California as safe as I made Huntington Beach. Because when I made Huntington Beach one of the safest cities in the entire state of California, for instance, I didn't have any magic. I literally just enforced the same state criminal laws that are on the books available to Rob Bonta for the rest of the state. He chose not to enforce them. I chose to enforce them. So I'm going to go to Sacramento and I'm going to fight every day for everyday Californians. I'm not going to go to make friends up there. I know I'm going to make enemies. Why? Because I'm putting the interests of everyday Californians, of the working class, of the Latinos ahead of politics, ahead of the agendas of the elitists in Sacramento. I'm going to go there to fight for everyday Californians. I'm going to make California safe again and prosperous again just by enforcing the laws that are on the books and upholding and defending the rule of law. When I leave office after I'm Attorney General, people will remember me for one thing, and that's that guy returned California to a law and order state and made us safe and prosperous again.
Thank you, Michael Gates. You have my vote, our support, our endorsement from probably every church in San Diego, because we want law and order. We appreciate you, Michael Gates. Vote for him. I'm believing for a miracle. I'm believing that the people are tired. Michael Gates for Attorney General in California. Thank you, Mr. Gates, and we appreciate you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Dios te bendiga. God bless you.